Buongiorno. This is pretty much all what I can do in Italian, so I'll switch to English straight away. Thanks a lot for having us. We had a very nice day yesterday with the participant of the workshop we gave in the basement, and today we will show you some projects and some images as well. So maybe some words about the studio. It was founded back in 2001 by Nicolas Bourquin in Berlin. I joined him in 2007, and 2 years ago we moved back to Switzerland, to Geneva, where we funded a new studio with Vanya Golubovic, my partner, and Mathieu Guy joined us later on. The core of our practice is really I would say the museum's world and all what goes around, exhibition, etc. So the core of our practice is really like staging contents. We're not a typical graphic design studio producing like visuals every day, but we rather try to work with the content which is given to us. This is also related to the fact that we work a lot for fine arts and museums, so the task goes around staging this content, finding ways of telling a story, finding structure, and also developing simple visual system to be able to have a global communication. We are lucky enough to have clients who trust us to do communication, publication, and editorial design, and we love the kind of project where we can bring everything together. So I will show some projects which are related to this idea. The first one is the Centre Dürrenmatt in Neuchâtel. You might have heard about Friedrich Dürrenmatt, the writer. He used to live in Neuchâtel, in the French part of the country. And there is a museum there with a huge archive of his work. He was also a painter. And in 2016, we were invited to a pitch to redesign their communication to attract another public, a younger public. So they wanted to change their name or the way they are perceived in Switzerland and work with these 3 letters, CDN. So we started from there with the logo. This is the proposal we made, something very simple. And then we developed a system which should be able to develop communication over years. So we realized that these 2 dots, this umlaut, is a very strong element with his name. The former logo somehow also had this element, but we wanted to work with this principle, and these became our visual system. So these 2 dots appear on all the communication material. We used the fonts by Fat Type, Yassin Bagar, which was kind of custom made for the project, and it's not released yet, in 2 cuts. And actually with these 2 basic elements we are able to play around for each communication element we need to develop. We also mixed these 2 dots, these umlauts, with different words related to his identity and his practice. And so we could develop the basic communication set and also the wall signage system in the building. But the core of the project and the goal of the museum was really the communication outside the institution. So the posters were a key element of the development, and so you can see that we have these 2 dots and this very strong color system that we use on each publication, and simple typography, always the same size, and just working on composition and bringing the the content, the central image in the foreground. With the exact same principle, we can develop publications like catalogs for the museums, and also we have a kind of layout system for all the texts which are published by the institution. So there for us, like typography, and this will be the case in all the projects we are going to show today, is one of the basic ingredients we use in our work, and we try to have something which is not definitely super expressive or illustrative, but which can really work as a system for us to have a consistency in the way we produce different print materials. And as I said, we are also lucky enough to work in the exhibition design field. We could develop some exhibitions for them. This one is about the relationship of Dürrenmatt with religion, and again, we try to bring this very strong character in our design, working with colors and simple shape to stage the content inside the building. For this exhibition, we also designed a newspaper with all the resonance in the media after a quite controversial play he wrote back in the 50s. A second project is called L'Utopie au quotidien. It was a big adventure for us. Took us almost a year to realize. It was an exhibition at the Museum for Fine Arts in La Chaux-de-Fonds around the Soviet everyday life in the perestroika time, so rather at the end of the era. So the curator had collected thousands of objects of that time in different flea markets in Russia back in the 90s, and she had also collected an incredible amount of quotes and text fragments about this period that we somehow had to bring together in an exhibition and in a book. So we started with the exhibition, and we were completely overwhelmed by the quantity of content, and we realized that we need a kind of structure and a system which would be able to bring these contents together and to build a story inside the exhibition space first. So we started with the research about this time in the Soviet Union, and as we started with the exhibition, we wanted to start with not like graphic elements or graphic references, but really like the everyday life. And we randomly stumbled upon these kind of images of these interiors and realized that there is a kind of tradition, or there was a kind of tradition, how you would paint the walls in the interiors. So they're very colorful, but surprisingly like stopping at the mid-height of the walls. And we had the feeling that this was exactly what we needed to start the exhibition design, and we defined our own color scale based also on some prints we could find in the archive. We developed, with Mathieu Guy, developed a font which had also like Cyrillic signs, because it's coming, but it was quite reduced, the choice of such fonts, and we started designing the exhibition with these elements. So the different parts telling the story of these interiors, of the design, and of the objects are structured by color with this system. And on the other part of the building, which is a kind of, or 3 white cubes, we developed this system of tables and display, able to place a huge range of different objects from the everyday life. So you have these thematic block with this fluorescent tube at the top, always this kind of hue, where we could gather contents by topic. It was a difficult challenge because we had flat objects printed, we had bigger ones, some hanging from the ceiling, and with this very basic system we were able to bring everything together and to create this kind of collection in these spaces. The book was also very challenging because of the amount of content, so used the same color system for the chapters and then bringing really the images, these objects together with different topics. And we mix images from this everyday life with these fragments of text telling about this everyday life there. At the end, we have an index bringing a lot of different words and elements in context. This is the communication. So you see again the same colorful system, just a font and these objects as a kind of iconic elements we could use for all the different print materials, flyers, but also visitor's guide, etc. So with these two elements, we had the feeling that we were able to bring this kind of thread path through the content and put the images in foreground. And next project, Trésor, which is really a project for itself in our studio. If you've been to Berlin, maybe you know about it. It's really an iconic techno club, which opened in the 90s in Berlin. Vanya has been in charge of the art direction of the wall communication since 2015 now. And she faced the big challenge to develop a flyer for each event. And as the club is almost open every day, it means a lot of content to produce. So she had the idea to work on a grid, which is related to the club also because the DJs they play actually in a cage in a basement. So this is a kind of iconic element, but also the tool we are using to develop every single material. We have a font also, again, basic ingredients and the pigs grotesque. And with these two elements, Vanya has been doing between 2015 and 2017 these wide range of visuals mixing images, structures, content, typography, colors, etc. for all these different events. Really like also showing and dealing with this grid. And also every kind of, they have different kind of nights which have their own design, like House of Wax and New Faces, which are every Tuesday or Wednesday. So these are a bit different than the standard program. And we're still going on with the project. We adapt it now in the studio for every season. And this year, the founder of the club asked us to adapt the wall regarding some reference of modern art. So he wanted to have something which would mix these grids and some Bauhaus or Moholy-Nagy references. So we again try to keep that grid, but rather as a kind of background element and develop new system bits more subtle with the wall. And for each month we have these visuals which are also then printed on the flyers. You will see after. So these are the folded flyers that present the overall program of each month. And again, for each night, we developed on the same system with the same basis, all these different kind of flyers. And our collaboration with Trésor expanded lately also with LPs. So we are working with the records. And for them, I forgot about that. This is also always nice to see on Instagram the crowd posing in front of the design. Yeah, these are the selection of LPs we develop also regularly for them. And this is kind of exception where we really develop a visual from scratch, and where our task is to create the visual content ourselves. Transition was an exhibition also in Neuchâtel, but in another museum back in 2017. The region decided to put up together a kind of comprehensive catalog of all the photographers from the beginning of photographies. And our task was to find a way to display this archive in the museum and also in publication and the communication. So this is kind of the projects we do. And again, so very nice photographs, a lot of vintage ones, but totally heterogeneous. So our first task was again to develop a kind of system. We worked with colors, metallic colors, silver and bronze, related also to the material of photography at that time. We pick up also a combination of fonts which were able to transmit to our opinion this aesthetic. The photograph, they range from 1870 to the 50s. And with these colors, we were able in the building, which is also a neoclassical building, to create kind of contrast with huge surfaces of colors and quite subtle typography, bringing the images and the content together. Sometimes, and it was the case for this specific exhibition, we are also commissioned to do the hanging display. So we lay out all the content on the walls according to the structure defined by the curators. So there also was a lot of discussions with the museum with these metallic colors, how we should bring them on the wall, etc., to have the right effect. The wall, the book used exactly the same system with these colors for the separation and these images in the front, and this index at the end with all the photographers. We developed the poster as well. And then, yeah, sure, flyers. Yeah, the Batirama project, it's a smaller one. It's something we did with a photographer. He shot vernacular architecture in one specific region, actually the same one in Neuchâtel. And so he came to us with his archive of images and these kind of elements. So, and our first task was to deal with the huge amount of images and the fact that there was no real story behind that. So we developed scenarios, worked with different system proportions, etc. And at the end, we end up working with a very generative system where all the images appear as a kind of catalog and in the exact chronological order as they were taken. So inside the book, which also works with a single, very simple font by Mathieu, we place content in the two halves of the book and just define the size of the images with like 2 parameters, big or small, and then the images just flow through the book and skip to the next page when they don't fit. So this could almost be designed by a computer, and this is something also we regularly try to bring on in our design, to define kind of parameters that you could almost program to develop designs. And the last project I want to show, because then I think it's time, it's the Musée des Beaux-Arts in La Chaux-de-Fonds. This was a long time project. I was designing their communication since 2008, I think, and this year the curator changed, and we were lucky enough to be able to continue the work with him. He kept us. So also very classical institution for which we had designed very, very in a kind of way mainstream posters before. The goal of the former curator was to open the institution to a younger public, so we were designing posters specifically not for the typical public of such a museum. But the new curator wanted to shift completely the exhibition style and also to address another public. So based on the previous logo, which was a bit like a comic somehow, we redesigned it, like making it first lighter and a bit more geometric. We developed a font which ended up being a mono font, and we had another one for text, and this is the only system and only element we use for the whole design, and we will use it, we hope, for years exactly like that. So for the posters, we divided the surface with one single size, one single font, and with that we bring the content at his maximum, placing the information on a very, very basic grid. So this was the first poster we designed, and this is the new one, and we hope that there will be far more in the future. We also again have a system for flyers, etc., working with the same typeface and same system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very nice words. Can you describe in 1 minute the brief of the workshop that you did yesterday?
Yeah,
because
sure,
I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, we were asked to hold a workshop on 1 day, which is very, very short. So we wanted the participants to do collaborative design, generative design. So we work on one song, which was divided in 12 tracks, like 12 different instruments. Every student got one instrument to visualize and develop his own design on A3 format. And then at the end of the day, we printed everything on Riso and overprint all the different design to like remix the song and remix the design with different colors.
Nice, very nice. Okay, thank you again.